My name is Charley Smith, and at Elemental, I'm the International Finance Supervisor. A lot of people, when I first meet them, are surprised when I tell them my last name is Smith. And that's due to the fact that my father, who was an American, met my mother during the Korean War. And I was a result of that meeting. But I look a lot more like my mother than I do my father. So, yeah, and he's primarily of English descent. So, anyway, that makes me half Korean. And my daughter, who is 1/4 Korean, I did a quick calculation, came up with the fact that since she met and married a full-blooded Korean man, that her children would then consequently be 5/8 Korean and 3/8 Caucasian. So.
Our other daughter, our older daughter, who's a teacher in Hawaii, is actually going to give us a grandchild in December.
Yeah.
So we'll be grandparents, and that child will have a little different racial mix. Those kids will be half Japanese and
1/8
Korean.
And then that leaves 3/8 of
3/8
European descent. So,
yes.
I was playing golf and I was commenting on the fact that both my daughters were engaged to Asian men, and I made the comment that I suspected that was the case because they wanted to marry men just like their dad. And one of my golf buddies says, "Do you mean they're drunks that can't play golf?"
When I met Charley lived in what we affectionately called the Home for Unwed Boys. And I met him because I'm a nurse and I worked with several residents at the time. And Charley lived with residents. So since my boyfriend was a physician, I would go to Charley's house frequently for his parties because they were nonstop. He had nonstop parties at his house because it was the Home for Unwed Boys, and there were 4 of them that lived there.
And Connie was one of the party girls that came quite frequently over, so we got to know each other at that point in time. A few years ago, I used to think that golfing and bowling were activities that were done by old people, and
nerds.
And nerds. And anyway, now I am one, and I've really taken up with both activities.
So the first time, I'm from Minnesota, and I'm totally Scandinavian and Swedish. And so Charley was taking his first trip to Minnesota with me, and he studies a book called How to Talk Minnesotan.
There was actually a book that by that title.
So he would understand the culture when he got there. In Minnesota, we don't eat very spicy food, and so And
they cook everything to death. I mean, you get a pot roast, that thing, probably should have been pulled off the oven, off the stove 2 hours before it's served. But
so Charley and I went to visit my mother on the farm, and Charley thought that he had landed at the end of the earth.
Yeah, up in northern Minnesota, civilization was kind of hard to come by. I mean, it was the definition of boonies. Yeah, but I am extremely fond of my in-laws. They're great people, and there's not a one that I don't enjoy spending time with.